Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Secary with the Alaska Division of Agriculture. I'm the State Survey Coordinator for the Cooperative Agricultural Pest Survey Program, also known as CAPS, and PPA, Plant Protection Act 7721 programs. Today we'll be discussing honeybee registration, Asian giant hornet, and suspected wax moths.
And I'm Alex. I'm with UAF Cooperative Extension Service here out of Anchorage, and I work as an IPM technician.
And what is IPM?
Oh, IPM is Integrated Pest Management. And so if you want to contact us with any questions you have about pests in your garden or how to deal with pests in your trees, anything like that, we are happy to help you.
Awesome. All right, so first things first, if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and post them on Facebook in the comments section, and we will get to those whenever we can. I'm going to dive straight into it. It's that time of year again, everybody's getting their package bees, and it's time for honeybee registration, which is really important, so I'm going to keep pumping that until I get as many registrations as I think there are bees in the state. So to find that registration form, you're going to go to the Alaska Division of Agriculture page. You're going to go to the center drop-down, which is Programs. You're going to go to Inspection Services. And on the left-hand side, I think it's like the, fifth one down, you're going to see bee registration card. So something important here with the bee registration card is when it pops up, you want to go up to that top right corner and save it to your computer before you fill it out. So save it as a file, fill it out, then email it to the email address provided or me directly. If you fill it out online and then save it and then email it, it's going to come to me blank, and then I'll have to email you and get it from you anyway. So you don't have to print them. You can fill them out and just email them. If you prefer to print them, you can mail it straight to us. You can find our physical address online. I get a lot of questions all the time about why honeybee registration is important. Why should I register my hive? Right now I'm participating in the National Honeybee Survey again for USDA APHIS and the BIP Bee Informed Partnership of the University of Maryland. We're looking for pest and disease and pesticides in honeybee hives and around the state, and one aspect of honeybee registration is pest and disease. If I don't know you have bees, I can't warn you about possible pest and disease in your area because I don't know that you have bees because you didn't register your hives. Another thing about that is a lot of people are concerned about pesticides being sprayed and how that relates to bees, and we're not going to get into that category of things today, but I will say that that could be assisted if we had more people who are registering hives to show value in making a structure whereby beekeepers could be notified of pesticide sprays or things of that nature in the future. So yeah, honeybee registration, very important, comes straight to me, and I'm just using it as a tool to get numbers on how many hives we have in the state and how many hives people are keeping on average and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, I would appreciate if you guys would do that for me. Speaking of pest and disease, we've had an issue that came up last year specifically, and where beekeepers had suspected wax moths found in their hive, or hives plural, and brought Alex on today to talk about that briefly. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it to her and let her go with that.
Yeah, so we've had some reports lately of beekeepers noticing some larvae and even moths in their stored comb mostly. And their issue is that these moths are eating the honey and part of the comb and leaving like a webbing in their frass on top of the comb. And so the concern was that these might be wax moths, which are not known to occur in Alaska. And so Chris was nice enough to get a specimen from a local beekeeper and get it to me. And I was able to look at it under the microscope. And so I can say that they are not the greater, lesser wax moths that are known to be big pests of honeycomb in Alaska or in the U.S. And so it's not either of those species. We can say for sure. There are a few species in Alaska of these kind of small larvae that get into mostly like bumblebee hives or even a leafcutter beehive and feed on, stored pollen or honey in that context. And so that is our suspicion at this time, that those are one of our native moths, that they're a little bit more cold tolerant too. And so that was one of the other things people were concerned, that they had put their hives outside and freezing it didn't seem to help. So there was concern there. But typically these are not a huge pest. They typically don't destroy most of the ribs of the comb like some of the greater or lesser wax moth can do. The damage is typically less severe. And so we were able to figure that out through reports from beekeepers.
Yeah, which is awesome. shows the value in communicating with the division, sending us your concerns, and we have resources and you have resources we can reach out to figure out what's going on in the instances of pest and disease in your hives and things of that nature. That's a really great segue into, suspected things that people are seeing in the environment that they think are something that they're hearing about. Specifically, we're going to talk about Asian giant hornet. Last year, we received a myriad of countless reports of Asian giant hornet sightings and specimens that were being found, and people were killing them believing that's what they were. So we're going to talk about things that are native to Alaska that look like Asian giant hornet. We're going to show you actual Asian giant hornet specimens, and that should help us out in identifying things properly to protect our native species from being unnecessarily killed during the season. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Alex and let her talk about that.
Yeah, so Asian giant hornet, there have been a nest found in Washington and a couple over the border into BC. So far, we have not found these in Alaska, but of course, we are happy when the public keeps an eye out and contacts us if they think they see something. But we just wanted to give you some more information and show you some of our local wasps that last year, like Chris was saying, we were inundated with people thinking that they saw an Asian giant hornet, when we do have quite a few species in Alaska that have been mistaken for the Asian giant hornet. So one of the biggest things to look for as a size comparison is that this Asian giant hornet is very large. They're 2 inches in length. A lot of our native insects don't reach those lengths. There's a lot of size variability, like in our yellow jackets and bumblebees, but for the most part, the things that we're seeing aren't going to be this big. Some things to keep an eye out with the Asian giant hornet as well is that they're going to have a large orange head, whereas most of our insects in Alaska don't have orange heads, and if they do, they're not going to be this really big wasp. On the top row here, I've brought some of our lookalikes. The top row are all related to wasps or bees. So the top row are all stinging insects. They could sting you if you were to mess with them, but you can see right off the bat that Asian giant hornet on the far left is quite a bit larger than our native species. Even the honeybees, that first honeybee on the left is a queen honeybee, and so even that queen honeybee is quite a bit smaller than this worker Asian giant hornet. And the honeybees come in all kinds of colors. Some are orange, some are black, some are a mix, and but you can see pretty clearly from the size that that's not something that is at all comparable to the Asian giant hornet. For the bumblebees, there have been some reports of these getting confused. Bumblebees have really fuzzy bodies. The Asian giant hornet isn't quite as furry and fuzzy and rotund as a bumblebee. And for the bumblebees, the one on the left is a queen, the one on the right is a worker, but there's quite a bit of size variability. But even between that, you can see that Asian giant hornet is quite a bit bigger than this queen bumblebee. And then for hornets, we have the bald-faced hornet and our aerial yellow jackets. These are both technically a species of yellow jacket. Some people use the term hornet to mean things that nest in the air, but in general, a lot of people consider a hornet just to be something that falls in the Vespa genus. And so technically, these are both types of yellow jackets. And our bald-faced hornet, what we call our bald-faced hornet, is our biggest wasp. And even that you can see is quite a bit smaller than that Asian giant hornet. And we've got quite a few yellow jackets. They come in a variety of black, yellow, orange, but none of them have that large orange head. And so the large orange head will really help you tell the difference between the Asian giant hornet and some of our local wasp species. And then on the bottom row, these are not wasps for the most part. Some of them are like parasitic wasps or sawflies that are related to wasps, but they're not our stinging wasps. And these also get confused. And on the far bottom right there, I even have a couple species of beetle that have been confused with the Asian giant hornet just because they're kind of large-bodied insects and they have kind of some orange and black or black and yellow patterning. And so the biggest one is this yellow horntail on the far left. This is a wood-boring species. They can't sting, but they can get quite sizable. And so a lot of people have concerns about that one. But again, they don't have the orange head. And sawflies are another thing we've had a lot of people mistake for an Asian giant hornet. There were a lot of them out last summer. And they can either be black-bodied or have like a yellow and black striped body. But the thing to look for with them is that they have clubbed antennae. And so you can kind of see its antennae have like an enlarged club at the end. And they also don't have that skinny constricted waist like our yellow jacket and bee species have. And so that's one way to tell those apart. And so, yeah, we've got a few large parasitic wasps and some of the beetles that look similar that can end up pretty large. But in general, if you look for that orange head and constricted waist, it will help you in making informed reports to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you mind to share with everyone what on the yellow-horned horntail, that thing that appears to be a stinger, what is it actually?
Oh, so that's its ovipositor. The yellow part on top is called a cornice. The part on bottom is an ovipositor because this specimen is a female. And they actually, that kind of folds out, and they'll use that to lay their eggs. They'll actually drill right through the bark and lay their eggs into the bark. So that's what that is for.
Yeah, and that's commonly been mistaken as a stinger by a lot of folks that have contacted us. And, you know, the purpose of this is not to tell people not to contact us. The purpose is just to give people a better understanding of what they're seeing out in the environment, because things that are native to Alaska you're going to see, and there's going to be years of flux in populations, and just like with the sawflies last year. So it's good to be aware of what's out there and make sure we're not making misidentifications. Yeah, really. That's what we got? Yeah? Okay. We've been thorough. Another thing I want to harp on just for a second is the National Honeybee Survey. Mentioned that we're doing the National Honeybee Survey again this year. Minimum qualification for general sampling is going to be 5 hives. If you'd like to participate, you just contact me and I'll come out there. What I'm going to do is come out and collect some samples from your hives and make a composite. For the general sampling, we're doing pest and disease only. For longitudinal, which is a sample at the beginning of the season and at the end, it's a 2-sample set. Those are going to give pesticide as well. This year we're going to be doing bee bread again for pesticide analysis. So I don't know if I have any spots left for longitudinal, but I'll take a look if anybody contacts me. My contact information will be up here shortly, and you guys can reach out to me and discuss that with me, and I'd be happy to come out and take a look at your hives anywhere in the state that you are. Doesn't have to be Matsu Valley, doesn't have to be Anchorage. I'll fly anywhere to look at bees and hang out with some fuzzy buzzy buddies. That's a good one. Say that 3 times fast. So what we got going on here in the background is the pinning of these Asian giant hornets that we received from USDA APHIS out of Washington, which is pretty cool to see. That's really all I have. Nice and quick and to the point. Everybody that's on lunch, man, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a good afternoon. Everybody that's not, hey, enjoy your day. You're lucky.